G'day. In today's episode I'm going to show you how I wall mounted the bandsaw I mentioned in the renovation and workshop upgrade video that I had a plan, an idea, and I've implemented it. Pretty simple one really when you see what I've done, but I am also going to make some modifications because I'm not overly happy with part of it. It was pretty difficult to make. I actually used the same little bit of stainless sheet that I used to make the trigger on the spindle brake, and it proved incredibly difficult to weld. Like I said, I'm not happy with it, so I'm going to make something else and mount that on the wall. So let's go and have a look at that, shall we? When I reviewed this when I first bought it, I had a lot of trouble getting these screws in here, and I said that I would figure out some way of making it a bit easier, or I'd get used to it. Well, decided I couldn't be bothered getting used to it, and I made it a bit easier. So what I've done is, in this one here, I've Loctited a 6mm piece of all thread in there as a stud, so I don't have to try and line them up when I refit this all the time. I just poke that one in, put the nut on it, and then I can just put the other two in there. It's problem solved. So I'll get on with this other bit. Whenever I head home to Australia, I tend to have a look for things that I just can't buy or find here. And while I was wandering around in a place called Bunnings Warehouse a few years ago now, I came across this. It just says 10-piece Sheppach tool manager assortment. It's just an assortment of hooks of different sizes, and I've used the bigger ones, these ones, out the back for hanging the ladders on the wall, things like that, and these smaller ones I've used them other places, and I've got just the one left now, this one, and it worked out really well for the handle size of the saw, and I suspect it would for most of the brands, and I would think you could get something like this just about anywhere in the world. So I'll grab the saw and I'll show you how well it fits on there. It hangs on there pretty well, and it does wobble a little bit, but I've noticed that it's not that big a problem. The first bottom part I made was this horrible thing, and it's made out of the same bit of sheet stainless that I used to make the trigger for the spindle brake. If you watch that video, in fact you can go up top now and watch it if you like, there's a link there. It's so thin, when I tried to weld it with some stainless rods, even with the amperage turned way down, it would just blow a hole in it, so I turned it way down, and I played around with it for ages and spot welded it all together, and I'm just not happy with it. I don't like it. And also I was just using some rip zip, some hook and loop zip to hold the trigger down, but I've got an idea to make a little latch that just folds over and hooks into the side. So I'll do that, and I'm going to make it out of some 3 or 4mm steel, whatever I've got lying around here, just some flat plate, and I'll shape it all up and make it the right shape. And it is a bit of an odd shape because this part of the handle here is tapered, and it's also tapered back in this way. It's like there's tapered as well. So I'll have to play around with that. I've got an old mouse pad I'm going to use to try to glue inside it to line it, because that mark there is from the screw I attached this with, so I don't want to mess all the handle up. So I'll try and make it nice and padded, make a decent latch on it to hold the switch closed. And the other thing I want to do is run some conduit over from over near the workbench, put a switch up in here. I bought this, it's a little foot pedal, just an on-off foot pedal, but I'm toying with whether I'll bother to use it or not, because, wait a sec, I bought this switch while I was down at the local hardware stores the other day, and it's just meant to be a power socket and a light switch, but I think what I might do is just wire it up inside so that the power comes in through the light switch to the socket, so that I can just turn the switch, pull the trigger down, latch it down, and just turn it on and off with this. whole lot easier than playing around with something like that. So I'll get on with all that. I don't know what's going on here, this making drawing seems to be catching on. But once again I thought I'd better do it. So I've measured up the back, the handle, and this is what I've come up with. So this will be the top part, and this is once it wraps around the corner. And according to my protractor it's 108 degrees. But I'll just run a cut through here with the grinder so I can bend it more easily, and I'll just keep bending it till it fits the back of the saw quite nicely. And then trim these edges off, and I'll use some of that 6 meters of 1-inch flat I bought the other day, and cut some bits and I'll tack them on here and bend them out slightly until I get the angles right, and then I'll weld it all up and we should be done. Alrighty, so I've cut this up and bent it to the right angle, and I've cut up the first two pieces to fit into here. This had a 45-degree cut in it already, so I just left it like that, cut the other one the same. So I'm going to tack them on there, and then I'm going to just tack them so I can bend them, and bend them out until they're the right shape. Once I get that tacked in and welded up, then I'll cut these two pieces, put them in there, because they also need to be bent out slightly. So I'll get on and we'll do that. So I'll cool them down and I'll go and check how they fit, bend them a little. Alright, so I didn't have to bend them too much. It took some bending actually. It was quite amazing how much that hanging on it was a bit of a problem. So I'll finish welding these up a bit, and then we'll do something about cutting the bottom ones. Alright, I'm not holding up Harbour Bridge, so I think that'll be plenty. Oh, horrible looking inclusion there. Beautiful. Grind them off because that's got to sit up flat against the wall. So let's get on with the next bit. Okay, so I've cut these two pieces like this. Cut that on an angle because this has to mount on the wall, and I decided I didn't want things sticking out. It's there permanently, and I don't want people jagging them. By people I mean me. People jagging themselves on sharp edges here, and once I've welded up I'll round that off a bit as well. My damn belt set it through in the towel today, so it's all file or angle grinding today for this stuff. So I'll get on with this. Get rid of that damn magnet. God, I hate welding around magnets. I'll just tackle this up first and make sure it's right before I go to weld it up proper. It's not right. I think it will be, but it's better be safe than sorry. I have to cut it all off. I bought some of those blue discs that I used for removing scale and stuff the other day when they were online, because where I buy them normally didn't have any, and when they arrived they came with this pair of gloves. So now I have a pair of gloves I didn't have before. If you're enjoying this build, how about giving me a great big thumbs up so I know I'm going down the right path here and I'm making the sort of videos that people like to watch, because it just encourages me to keep going. Alright, so I'll cool that off and make sure it fits properly. Yep, that fits pretty well. So I'll finish welding this up and we're nearly home and hosed. In case you're wondering, I've done a lot of fabricating in my lifetime. I learned to weld when I was still going to school. So, I'll be 64 next month, so it's been a long time. I learned to weld when I was maybe 14, so 50 years ago. And I learnt to weld with an old welder my father told me he bought second hand, and it was probably 50 years old when I was learning how to weld with it. So it was probably a bit of a, oh Jesus, that's hot. It was probably a bit of a tough initiation into welding. It was an old Murex, if you're familiar with the brand. Starts burning through your leather glove, you know it's pretty hot. Hoping I can get there with that little bit. Nah. Get a new piece. Get a new stick. Got a whole packet of them. Well, I reckon it must be getting on for lunchtime, so I might just leave that there to cool down and go and have some lunch and then come back and finish it off later. Why is it that the simplest things seem to take the longest? It's just amazing. I finished all this thing off and I ground it all up, cleaned it up, gave a coat of that sparkling black that I like. I've added an extra mounting hole here because I only had the one before, and I've just used a little brass plated steel hinge here and trimmed it up a bit. This is just a bit of either gal steel or zinc aluminum, something like that. It's pretty flexible. This is an old tab off a zip or that had just crappy little, I don't know, shit metal fitting on the end that just broke off, so it's been lying around on my desk, so I decided to use that. And I just got a screw in here, and it just pulls over that screw. I checked it on the saw and it holds that down, holds the switch closed properly, so it works pretty good. So I'll wait for this paint to dry a bit, harden up a bit overnight, and then I'll glue some of that old mouse pad in here, just for some bit of padding to protect the saw, and so we don't rub all this paint off. And I'll fit it all up and finish showing you off tomorrow. And by the way, I'm in here again today because the barking rats are going at it out there, and old mate's playing his music again. So alright, I'll get into this in the morning and finish it off. Alrighty, it's pretty early this morning, and about 5 AM we had a huge storm here and it poured for about an hour or more. It's taken quite a while to clear up for the sun to come out. It's now 10 o'clock. And but anyway, so while I was sitting around here sort of pre-dawn, doing not much, and watching a few videos on YouTube, I finished this off and cut up that foam from the mouse pad, glued all that in there, and that's made this a really nice fit on here. So that should stop it from wobbling around a fair bit too, I hope. You can see it's starting to, it was getting a bit knocked around in here from that other stupid thing I made. But anyway, so that's it. So I'll go and grab my cordless drill and we'll put that back on the wall and see how well it works. Look, I haven't put the leg on. I better do that in a minute before this thing snaps off. Alright, so let's flip this over, hang it up. We'll wedge it in there. Alrighty, so let's pull that trigger latch down, put it on. Right. No, it's still a little wobbly, but it doesn't matter. The other thing I did was I made this plate for it. The original one is some little thing like this. And all I did to lay this out, on the top of there's a slot, T-slot here, that there's a nut fits in there. So I put some white marker paint on there and then cut out a piece of cardboard this shape, sat it over it and just give it a tap with a hammer just to mark it all where it sits. And I'd already cut a slot with the in the cardboard to slide it over this. So that's how I got the positioning for that. And then I just marked it all onto the top of the plate. Cut this with the angle grinder, not with this, to make it a little wider. And then I just drilled 3 or 4 holes, can't remember now, in there and just filed it out till it fitted better. Yep, this side's painted so it don't go rusty, but this side I've just got a bit of silicone spray on it so it won't rust. But anyway, there we go. How it is, how it works. You can't get a much simpler wall hanger than that. Okay, this was something I had intended to do as part of the workshop refurbishment anyway, so I've run some conduit up and around that bit of lattice work there down the wall, and I've fitted up this switch up in here. Turns the door on. And it's all off. So if you've enjoyed this build and you got something from it, and I hope you did, then how about giving me a big thumbs up and press that like button, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, subscribe if you haven't done already. So that's bye bye for now.